Good evening, everyone. Hope you all are having a great day so far. So today I will be going through a complete teardown and disassembly of the Nintendo GameCube video game console, as well as providing some facts and features that can be easily found on Google. However, I felt that including all this information in one video, or I guess in this case, in one series of videos, would be valuable to someone somewhere. So the GameCube is a home video game console which was developed and released by Nintendo in Japan on the 14th of September 2001. In North America, it was released on the 18th of November of that same year. And in PAL territories, it was released in 2002, presumably sometime within that 12-month time span. It is the successor to the Nintendo 64, which was released in 1996, and the predecessor of the Wii, which was released in 2006 with a very unfortunate name. In the sixth generation of video game consoles, the GameCube competed directly with Sony's PlayStation 2 and Microsoft's Xbox. Flagship games included Super Smash Bros. Melee, Luigi's Mansion, Super Mario Sunshine. Something that is unique about the Nintendo GameCube video game console was that this, at least to my knowledge, was the first Nintendo console which utilized optical media. This media was placed on those mini DVDs, which were common to specific models of Sony camcorders, and they were utilized for all of the Nintendo GameCube games, at least to the best of my knowledge. So before we go into the full teardown and disassembly of this video game console, let's take a quick visual inspection around the unit itself to see what features were provided for the video game console by Nintendo, and to see if we can learn a little bit more about it. So on the front, we can see in the top right corner the Nintendo logo, which is embedded into this top lid, as well as the Nintendo GameCube logo in the center of this plastic jewel on the lid mechanism. In the top left, we can see this power button, which when engaged makes a click and maintains its depression within this power recess. When the power button is engaged, we will see an orange light illuminate toward the bottom of this lid, indicating that the console is on. When the power button is disengaged, the console obviously turns off and the orange light disappears. We also have, in classic Nintendo fashion, a reset button, in this case placed in the bottom left corner, which is a simple toggle switch. It does not click, it does not engage. It just toggles reset functionality. And in the bottom right, we have this open button, which has a slightly indented button in which you can press and the lid will open, or at least it should. And when it closes, the button clicks in place. Inside the console itself, this might be difficult to see, but we can see this plastic cog, which is responsible for guiding the opening and the closing of the lid. We can see the laser crystal, which would read the disc, and the center spindle, which allows the optical media to spin, which should be spinning freely. All of these may be failure points, and possibly have been failure points in other optical-based systems. So let's go ahead and move around to the left side of the Nintendo GameCube console. We can see that this console has one fan, which transfers air across the heatsink to cool the rest of the console. It looks like in this particular unit's case, this fan These blades are quite dusty, so they may need a cleaning. On the front of the GameCube console, we can see the controller ports, the player indicated through dots. So we can see one dot indicates player 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3, 4 for player 4, and 2 memory card slots, which are covered by these flaps. It looks like some discoloration has occurred with this flame-resistant plastic, which can be reversed. However, we are not going to be aiming to do that in this video. In the right side of this console, we can see that there is no fan present here. This area is presumably designed to have air easily pass through to adequately cool the console. If this part is covered with debris, then you may have some overheating issues. On the back of the console, we can see that we have the iconic handle, which may be useful for activities. In the top right, we can see the proprietary DC plug, 12 volts inputs, which was utilized by Nintendo for their video game, specifically GameCube consoles, I should say. We also have a digital video out port. So at the time, at least to my knowledge, Nintendo provided components, video cables, which provided a higher quality video resolution for this game console. However, these cables were only available through mail order. So Nintendo created this situation in which the consumer who wanted to have higher definition video output from their console could not do so easily by just walking into a store and picking up the cable. And because of this, in later iterations of the GameCube, they removed this port to save costs, as well as, of course, as a response to it being underutilized, which was a situation entirely created by Nintendo at the time, but it is what it is. And to the right of the digital out port, we have our analog output port. This multi-AV out port we have seen as early as the AV Famicom and the Super Nintendo series. On the bottom of the console, we can see a sticker provided by Nintendo indicating the model number. We can see DOL001 USA, indicates that this is a first iteration model from the Nintendo GameCube, which was region locked to the United States. We also have the voltage rating, which is DC 12 volts, 39 watts. We have some patent information, product compliance information, manufacturing origin, etc. So you may have noticed at this point regarding the other features that you can see at the bottom, that this particular port's cover does not match the other two ports at the bottom. The reason for that being this console was purchased from eBay quite a long time ago and originally did not come with this cover. I had an extra cover from other projects with GameCubes I was working on, so I decided to just insert it into place. So to my knowledge, this high-speed port, as it is named, was designed for the Game Boy player, in which there is an attachment that goes on the bottom of the GameCube. It screws into place, I believe, and you can insert your Game Boy Advance games and play those games on a large television screen. For the port below, serial port 1 was officially utilized for Nintendo's modem adapter, as well as broadband adapter, which were utilized for internet connectivity for those games that leveraged that connectivity for multiplayer arrangements, such as Phantasy Star Online, and I believe local area connection for, what was the name of that game? I believe it was called Mario Kart Double Dash, something like that. It could have been utilized for other games as well, like Kirby Air Ride, I believe. But just like anything else, if anyone has any further information on what these ports could have been used for in either an official or an unofficial capacity, feel free to reach out and let me know. I am always continuously curious about what is currently being developed for these systems as well. And speaking of which, this port here, the serial port 2, to my knowledge, I do not believe that anything official was commercially available to the public which connected to this port. However, now there is something called SD2SP, which allows one to connect this adapter that communicates a SD card's data through this port to load DOL files, to load games, Swiss, just those kinds of things. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong, if either all of that was correct, none of that was correct, or most of that was correct, some of that was correct, who knows. Okay. So that is a basic overview of the exterior of the console, a visual exterior representation of its features and its handle. In the next part of this disassembly series, we will begin disassembling the Nintendo GameCube.